Hello, everyone. We at Teammate are very excited to talk about Protean today. Protean is our effort, our experience, and our expertise brought out to help others who want to benefit from it. To introduce Protean, Subhash, as the father of Protean, can you share briefly why we needed Protean and why we initiated this Protean project?
So we have been building applications for the last few years, and especially in Teammate, we have taken on the responsibility of building products for our clients. And most of these products are what we would call as ambitious in nature. They have a long-term goal, and they have a lot of people-oriented aspects associated with them. One of the common themes that has emerged when we build these applications is that they change over time. Almost nobody knows what should be part of the application on day one. They figure it out as the product grows, and that's the nature of innovative products in general, right? But with this change, what comes prepackaged is an increase in complexity. When you build something on day one, and when you adapt as the business grows, your decisions change. The things that you use in terms of technology components, architecture, and even the modularity of the code that you have written changes for a period of time. With that, complexity tends to increase. Unless you find ways to decrease it and keep it low, complexity tends to increase over a period of time. So Protean was built with the express need to understand the thought process around how to keep complexity low while still being able to deliver something in a time-appropriate fashion in acceptable quality to the hands of end users.
Applications of any significance continue to evolve. Applications that start with a vision or with a larger mission to accomplish do not start with all the specifications laid out in complete detail for the following 2 years or so. They start with a general vision or a big mission and continue to evolve. With the changes that are brought in by the evolution, a lot of times we have to change a piece of code, the piece of architecture, or a piece of technology or a tool we had already selected and placed inside the system. Those changes are very expensive. Sometimes they're so expensive that we try not to make the change and live with something that is suboptimal. To really get rid of the problem and not to live with suboptimal things, but to change the components that need to be changed with the minimal cost, we need a framework. Protean is our effort to accomplish that, which essentially reduces to a bare minimum the costs that are brought in to address the changes that are required for the evolution of the product. Thank you, Subhash. So this is absolutely useful. It has helped us tremendously to minimize the incremental cost involved in addressing changes as the products evolve. How would one go about solving this problem? What needs to be addressed to build something that addresses this problem?
Well, there are two aspects that we need to really get a handle on when we talk about minimizing the complexity and being able to sustain these products for a long time. The first is the code that we build should mirror or at least map as closely as possible to the real problem domain. Unless we do that, when the product gets refactored over a period of time, complexity gets added inadvertently. Things that were done 1 year ago have no meaning anymore in the code base now. Things that are going to be done in the future have no representation in the code base now. So we need to be able to map what we do in a real domain back to the code in some effective fashion. And while we do that, we also should ensure that whatever is built today is built according to the right architectural principles. So one problem is ensuring that the code is healthy, has good quality, and mirrors the domain, the problem domain as is. The other big side is to be technology agnostic. On day one, we are seldom sure about what is the best fit from a technology point of view for the product that we are building. So we want to build the application in such a way that we address the business requirements and give something to the user to play with, but not get locked into technology components at least until we are forced to do it, until the last responsible moment, right? So we want to be technology agnostic as long as possible. And even uh, when we do take the technology decisions, we want to have the option to switch our mind. Later, maybe as the business grows, we might decide that a different kind of database technology or a different technology component that we were not using so far might be a good fit, a better fit for our product. So we should have and retain the choice to switch technology components that we have already chosen in the past based on how the business is going. If you handle these two pieces efficiently, one, keep the code base extremely close to the application domain, and two, don't get locked into technology too much, you have a better chance of handling complexity and building a product that is sustainable over years.
Thank you, Subhash. So what is this Protean? Is it a teammate solution or a product you sell? Is it just an idea? Is it a set of slides? What exactly is Protean and what is the status of it?
We generally think about Protean as a combination of a philosophy and a technology framework. Uh, and I'll explain that a little deeper. But the aspects that we want to deal with, the complexity of the technology code base and the components that we use in technology code base, are can be handled well only if you implement it in the context of a philosophy, a paradigm upon which you code the application. So Protean is actually a technology framework. I mean, it's written in Python and it's available in GitHub as an open source framework. It's made available under the BSP 3 clause license for people to use in their own projects. But at the end of the day, the code makes sense only if you think from a certain mental model, and that mental model encourages you to think about complexity in the future, how to build efficiently with the right architecture patterns to keep the complexity low, what you can do on day one, and how you can refactor the code as we grow. So these thought processes are baked into Protean. And when you use Protean to build your own projects, you're actually subscribing to the thought model. It is not to say it's restrictive in the sense it is opinionated and you can only code products in a certain way, but it is to say that you should follow the right principles to ensure that you keep the complexity low for a long period of time. It comes pre-packaged also with a few technology components like a set of databases, a set of API frameworks that you could use in the project. So we talked about this technology component not being locked in from a product point of view, right? So Protean enables these external components to be plugged in whenever necessary. But to be able to plug in, you need what we call as adapters, and Protean is already shipping with a few built-in adapters as we speak, and we intend to grow it in the future. So right now it's an open source project, and everybody is welcome to participate in it. It's very much under active development, and we have a lot of ideas going forward on what to implement, but all help and community participation is welcome at this stage.
Thank you, Subhash. We at Teammate, we have been using Protean as the framework for many of our projects. And as Subhash said, welcome to use it. It's an open source, and you're welcome to contribute, use it, however it benefits you. We're all good with it. Subhash, you spoke about two different sets of capabilities that must be addressed to make Protean deliver the proposition that you were talking about. Can you share a little bit more about how you enable those two different sets of capabilities?
Sure, Sinu. The first aspect that we talked about is how do we write code that is as close to the problem domain as possible. And there are many architectural principles that adopt this philosophy out there, but from a concrete implementation point of view, Protean subscribes to this pattern called domain-driven design, which simply says that when you build a product, you think about how the domain is actually present outside, and then you mirror your technology components to reflect how the domain looks. So there are two important aspects to note in here. You are creating very succinct, uh, well-bounded pieces of the application, which do only one thing and do that thing very well. So the complexity is localized, first of all. If you ever change one piece of the puzzle, you are 100% sure that you're not touching the other piece, other aspects of the product, thereby reducing complexity. The second aspect is because you're building it in such modular pieces, well-defined modular pieces, you need to also be careful about how they interact with each other. And there are very well understood architectural principles there as well, which say that if there are multiple domains that are interacting with each other to make the application possible, these are the ways that they should interact with each other. So Protean combines both aspects. It allows you to build an application without worrying about the technology components and reflects the domain as closely as possible. And while it does that, it also lays down technologically and philosophically the connection points between these individual pieces and how they map into each other. So this is the first part where we are talking about the application domain being reflected in the code. The second part is the technology side, and there Protean gives you the ability to defer technology decisions as far as possible, because we discussed that the application domain can be built without even worrying about technology on day one. But when you do choose a technology component, it allows you to plug it in. It's like an adapter at the end of the day. You need a database adapter, choose among these adapters, it says. So pick an adapter and plug it into the application. It should work out of the box. There should not be any refactoring or rewiring or effort that is required to make it work with a certain technology component. Tomorrow, if you decide that that is not the right fit and something else is the right fit, all you have to do is in a configuration file, take out that adapter and plug in a new adapter. So to enable this, Protean can pre-package with a philosophy of ports and adapters, where there's a port exposed to the outer world, like a database port, and there are many adapters that fit into that port. And we continue to build adapters as we move forward, but it's an open source project, right? So people can build an obscure adapter if need be for their project. The most important thing to understand here is by following this architecture, the technology side is at the end of the day just details. What database you use, what API framework you use, what cache you use, what messaging medium you use are all just details, and there is nothing preventing you from switching from one to another as the business grows. And if you discover that it needs more performance, it needs more scale, it needs to handle data in a different way, there's nothing, absolutely nothing preventing you from switching from one to the other. At the same time, Protean also intelligently provides placeholders where you can override and really use some aspects of the database technology or something else that you're using because they're very good at it. So let's say you're using a relational database technology and you want to use the relational aspects that the database provides. While Protean tells you that you can actually switch an RDBMS technology with a NoSQL technology, it still gives you placeholders to go in and use the richness of these technologies if need be. But at least it's separately organized so that when you move, you know where exactly the database specific aspects are that you need to rewrite to adopt the new database technology. Hope that clarifies a little bit on the technology side as well.
Absolutely. So we have at Teammate built a bunch of tools, bunch of references, and useful checklists that are available on our website. So you can, you're welcome to come and check for more details. Thank you, Subhash, for the whole wonderful concept of Protean. It's a great goal. It has already helped us. We hope it helps a number of people who are building applications of any significance, whether it is in the space of enterprise software or in the internet space. Thank you.